Hi, welcome to this kind of introduction to our course on Linux administration, which is geared to help you study for the LPI 101 and 102, the LPI Level 1 exams. However, this is kind of an introduction because it's not really aimed primarily at those who are all set to write the exams, rather at someone who's curious about what exactly Linux is. Maybe you'll go on from this initial curiosity to explore administration of Linux systems, and maybe eventually you'll write your LPI exams. In the meantime, though, we're going to answer the question, why Linux? Why somebody would want to switch from a different operating system to use Linux instead, or if you're buying a computer straight and empty and you want to know what you'd like to load it up with, why you'd like to load Linux. First of all, what initially hits you, what you're confronted with first is the price. Free. You can't beat it. It's true, Linux and all open source software is free. It's free now. It always will be free. This isn't a limited time offer. It's not a 30-day trial. It's free. It always will be. I've been using Linux computers now for almost a decade, and I still haven't spent a penny on any of them. It's free in a few different ways. Obviously, if you're running a home network, let's say, with 4 or 5 computers, a couple of laptops, a computer or two in the kids' rooms, and one in your own office, if you want to run Windows, and if you want to do it honestly and at a relatively headache-free way, you're going to have to buy a site license of some sort. You're going to have to either have a different license and a different legal copy of Windows for each computer, which gets expensive, or some kind of site license. I'm not sure exactly how they work, which I'm sure isn't free. And each time you want to upgrade some hardware, you have to worry about, will it be compatible with my original license, or am I going to have to get a new license, or somehow have to phone up and convince Microsoft that I am the legal owner of this software so I can put it on my existing or my new hardware. These are concerns that do not have any effect whatsoever on Linux users. We can install as many copies of Linux as we like on as many different machines. I can have 4 or 5 different distributions of Linux running concurrently on one machine. I can have virtual distributions, virtual installations of various types of Linux running on one system all at once, 5 windows open, 5 different installations, and there's absolutely no cost. It's all available when I want, how I want, and as I want. So there have been times where I've lost some hardware functionality on a particular PC, and I've had to remove the hard drive and just install it in a brand new PC. And it boots. Occasionally you'll have to adjust the video driver to acquaint Linux with the new hardware, but generally just runs as though it had been there forever. Try doing that with a Windows installation, which is based on a registry that is very much hardware dependent. You can't shift a whole lot of hardware and expect Windows is going to remain uncomplaining and serviceable. But with Linux, it's very, very serviceable. But it's more than just cost. Much, much more than just cost. I have found Linux to be extraordinarily stable. Of course, not everybody has exactly the same experience, but I do a lot with my computers. I do a lot with my server. I am a thin client server. The computer that I use at my own desktop in my own office also provides most of the resources for 4 other computers, thin clients in my house, and is providing a number of web services, and at the same time is running concurrently a great many programs, both GUI programs and sometimes terminal programs. There's a lot going on my computer. It's complicated, and I think I crash the computer probably less than once every 2 months. I don't remember that kind of stability when I was using Windows XP granted, but Windows all the same, 7-8 years ago. Linux is pretty much virus-free. That's not to say that attacks from the internet, malware attacks, are impossible. It could happen. and you certainly have to be vigilant about how you browse and what web services you make use of. And you should also take care that there aren't viruses affecting your emails that you send out to people who might have Windows or Macintosh computers, because you're going to cause them trouble. But by and large, viruses don't affect Linux because of its very secure infrastructure and because the virus writers aren't targeting Linux, at least not yet. That frees up a lot of system resources for your use. Everything that happens isn't going through layers of virus checkers and malware checkers. Linux is extraordinarily versatile. There are so many different flavors of Linux. Anybody can write his own if he so desires. So there's an old PC running behind my desk now that currently is a server. It's a web server. It doesn't have any monitor or keyboard attached to it. It's just running very happily as a web server serving PHP database websites. Really only one website. It's not very big just yet. It's not running the same operating system I'm using, which is Ubuntu. It is running a Ubuntu Server Edition. Previously, a few years ago, I had it running a piece of an operating system called IPCOP, which is also a Linux operating system that is very specific to work as a proxy server. It was, in fact, filtering all the internet traffic in and out of my house throughout my whole network, again, through this little box, very efficiently, completely free, very versatile. Linux can be configured to do almost anything. If you don't like the look and feel of the desktop you're working on right now, which in our case is the GNOME fallback from Ubuntu, then try a different approach. I'm going to switch in a second, you'll see very soon, to the Ubuntu Unity desktop. I personally don't like it nearly as much, but for some people it's just the right blend of menus and icons and desktop and navigational tools. There are many other desktop variations, not just Ubuntu, of course, if you want to use Fedora or OpenSUSE or any one of dozens of Linux distributions. Some are focused on music production, some on media consumption. If you want to do it and it's on a computer, the odds are Linux in some flavor is going to do it for you. But for me, though, bearing in mind the cost savings, the stability, the versatility of Linux, perhaps the strongest feature of the operating system is community. When you start using Linux, you're joining a community of developers and users and tech support people who are devoted to helping each other at no cost. There are thousands of people online waiting to help newcomers to Linux get over the first hurdles, or help more experienced users who are encountering specific problems to get over these problems, working together to solve problems, working together to make the software better. You can get so much from being part of this community, but you can also give a lot too, whether it's just writing documentation for a particular feature of Linux or a particular distribution, or writing new software to make things even better, just being there to offer help in one of the many the tech forums that are available. It's a community that transcends borders, it transcends languages. I think it's a very healthy place. It's a decent part of society. Now, what about productivity software? Will the things I need to do for work be available to me on Linux? The short answer is yes. There's a longer answer, which we're going to get to soon. But if you want to produce word processing, you want to produce a spreadsheet, you want to produce a presentation, art of any type, music, video, want to edit video, the software to do this professionally is available, and it's available for free. The OpenOffice or LibreOffice projects, two parallel projects, basically provide you with a full Office suite. I have personally typeset entire books, including the covers and all the text inside, up to full high-level production values in LibreOffice, start to finish. Well, it's not entirely in LibreOffice. I've also used GIMP, which is a very sophisticated photo editing software. Just about anything you want to do, you can do, and you can do for free. And in many cases, you can do much more quickly and efficiently and professionally than you can in any other operating system. If you want to save files in the formats that your co-workers might be using in the Windows world, like PDF or DocX, you can do that. There are some minor variations that may creep into complex documents you should be aware of, but these are all things that can be overcome. I say, though, almost anything can be done. To be honest, there are still a few functions that I really wouldn't want to try professionally in Linux. AutoCAD does not run in Linux. It's true there's a program called Wine that will take many Windows programs and run them efficiently and effectively in Linux. AutoCAD just isn't one of them. It's too big, too complicated. I don't see that coming anytime soon. There are both 2D and 3D CAD programs available for Linux, but it's not AutoCAD. InDesign, the Adobe software for typesetting, it cannot work within Linux. The file format for InDesign will not open effectively in Linux, and it can't be reproduced. Having said that, you can produce some pretty good desktop publishing and typesetting in the Linux libraries of software that we have, as I've said, but InDesign itself will not work, and there's not an immediate replacement to InDesign currently in Linux. A couple of features that you're going to have a hard time replacing: OCR, optical character recognition, that is taking printed text, scanning it, and converting it to digital text. We're not quite there yet within Linux, as far as I can see. Voice recognition software or speech recognition software, taking speech, converting it to digital text, they're not really there either. The bottom line, though, is that Linux is available. You can enjoy it as a consumer. If you just want to use an efficient, safe, and very effective operating system, download it and use it. A great distribution to begin with might be Ubuntu, and this is a screenshot of Ubuntu's headquarters, you might say, ubuntu.com, with very, very simple and straightforward instructions for downloading and installing Ubuntu on your own computer. It'll install on older computers and, of course, on brand new computers. It's very straightforward. You can try it out without installing it. You can try out a live copy of Linux, Ubuntu, or certain other distributions on your computer without actually installing it to the hard drive, without it affecting anything on the hard drive. Happens to be, by the way, that's a very, very secure way to do your banking. Some people will load a live session from a CD or from a USB stick onto a computer and do their banking directly from there. The reason they like it is because there's no way any malware is on this installation, because there's no installation. There's no keyboard tracking software, you can be sure of that. There's no way that anybody could follow you inside your computer from your internet connection in this way and affect your files, because you have no personal files. Your files are somewhere else on a hard drive that's not being accessed right now. It's an interesting approach to security. So you can enjoy it as a consumer. Or you can aspire to something better and try to get beneath the surface, under the hood of Linux, and learn to be an administrator. Gradually, a step at a time, to become independent, and maybe through the videos in this particular course, you might actually one day certify as a Linux professional through the LPI. Good luck, and I hope to see you around.